Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Ryan from Movies with Ryan. Now, this week I was going to bring you an unboxing, but I moved that to next week because I've got something important for you. We are bringing back the 90s. My good buddy, Tim Talks Talkies, this guy, is doing a community list. Now, this is for people that watch YouTube, people that do Bluetooth community stuff, Bluetubers, Instagram folks, the physical media collector folks, and all them. What he wants is for you to give him a list of his top or your top 25 90s movies. Now, I'll put the information down below. You can hit him up on Instagram under TimTalksTalkies and send him a DM, send him your list. You can email him at timtalkstalkies@gmail.com. Or if you're a YouTuber, make your own video like I'm doing. So again, 25 to 1, your favorite 90s movies. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start at 25. We're going to end up at number 1. And I'm going to show you my list. Now, why is Tim doing this? March 31st. That is when you have to get the list to him. March 31st, 11:59 p.m. He's going to take all the lists he's received. He's looking to get 100 lists. He's pretty darn close. And he's going to compile the information. And then on April 8th, we're having a live stream. There's going to be a bunch of great people on the live stream. And we're going to go over the results and see what the community kind of has voted on their top 25 movies. Now, he does rankings, assigns points and all that according to where they're voted in at, how many times they're voted and all that. So if you want to partake in this, again, Tim Talks Talkies, information down below. Get him your list by March 31st at 11:59 p.m., I believe, Eastern Time. So we can do this. But let's get into it. Let's start. We're going to start with my number 25. It's a 1998 movie directed by Steven Spielberg. It's not my favorite war movie, but as far as 90s goes, Saving Private Ryan fits the bill. It slides in at number 25. This movie is great. It's shot beautifully. The opening scenes, fantastic. My only issue with this movie is that it does kind of waffle after the initial invasion. It kind of makes some stupid mistakes. But this movie, I can watch it anytime. If it's on TV, I'll continue to watch it no matter where it's at. And this movie is just great. So for my number 25, Saving Private Ryan. Number 24 is a comedy that came out in 1999. It's from Mike Judge. And in 1999, I had already graduated high school. I graduated in 98. In 99, I was trying to find my place in the world. I was going to school, college, and deciding on what I was going to do. But this movie gave me the idea that I was never going to work in an office because this movie is just hilarious. And we're talking Office Space down here at the bottom. This movie is hilarious. Your main guy is kind of going through life. He gets hypnotized and he just gives no cares. And all sorts of stuff ensues. And it is just a great, all around great comedy. And again, it helped me decide one path in my career choices that I was not going to make. So Office Space, number 24. Number 23, coming out in 1998. Now, there's going to notice a little trend. I do have a few 97 and 98s. When I was in high school, 97 and 98, I only went half days because I was part of the business program. And I was supposed to be working, which I didn't do a whole lot of working. At the time, my friend worked at a video store, and he only worked half days as well. So 97 and 98, I spent a lot of my time at the movie store with him watching movies. And this movie, I believe, the first time I seen it was at the rental store. And probably my second favorite Jim Carrey performance of the 90s. There may be another one coming up, spoiler. But again, 1998, Peter Weir directed The Truman Show. This was something you really had not seen from Jim Carrey, a more serious role. And it really made you think about life and how you live it. And are we all being watched? You never know. So, number 23, The Truman Show. Number 22, 1998. Again, I said you'll see a trend. This is probably the epitome of Adam Sandler in the 90s. This is everything. This is directed by Frank Karachi, and it is The Wedding Singer. Love this movie. It's just cute. It's adorable. Drew Barrymore is just precious in this movie. But there were so many good Adam Sandler movies in the 90s. Big Daddy, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Mr. Deeds. But again, the epitome, I think, of his career for the 90s, The Wedding Singer. So that is coming in at number 22. Number 21. This introduced me to a new director that I love. I love almost everything this director has put out since. It also introduced me to some up-and-coming stars. But for number 21, 1997, Good Will Hunting. You've got the Affleck brothers. You got Matt Damon, Skarsgård, and Robin Williams in this. I forget which Skarsgård. It's not Bill Skarsgård. It's the other one. This movie is just fantastic. For a first-time outing of writing a movie, Ben and Matt killed it. This movie has so many quotable lines. How do you like them apples? And the ad lib from these two were fantastic. You know, some bitch stole my line. This movie is great. Is it highly rewatchable? Probably not, but it's had an everlasting impression on me, and that is why it is number 21. Coming to number 20, a little controversial director. I fully understand why, but I separate him from the art, him from his movies. But he's made some really good movies. But for number 20, 1997's The Fifth Element, directed by Luc Besson. Love this movie. Bruce Willis in this sci-fi world. We get introduced to Mila Jovovich, which goes on to have a pretty good movie career. This was just something funny and cool and just neat in outer space and sci-fi that I had never seen before. And I absolutely love it. And that is why it comes in at number 20. Number 19, directed by the Farrelly brothers, 1994. This is probably, I'm going to say, peak funny Jim Carrey, and probably outside of the box Jeff Daniels that you will ever see. And of course, I'm speaking about Dumb and Dumber. This movie, again, highly quotable, very funny. And when I was younger, I used to watch the DVD and the VHS all the time. This was one of my favorite comedies back in the day. And again, you know, watching him come off in living color and have all the success, and Dumb and Dumber was just like the cherry on the ice cream. Great movie. If you've never seen Dumb and Dumber, please watch it. But coming to number 19, Dumb and Dumber. Moving right along. Number 18, 1993, directed by George Cosmatos. This is hands down my favorite Western, and it is loosely based on the true events of what happened, but I am talking about Tombstone. I mean, you've got Kurt Russell as, Wyatt Earp. Just completely went blank. Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp is great, but who steals this show is Val Kilmer and his Doc Holliday portrayal. I mean, it's great. The villains are even great. Ringo and the leader, also great. But again, loosely tells the story of the events that happened. And again, hands down, one of my favorite Westerns. And coming in at number 18, Tombstone. Moving right along, 1998. Coming in at number 17, my introduction to the Coen brothers. And we're going to go with The Big Lebowski. Now, my friend that worked at the video store looks like the dude. He actually dresses up as the dude a lot of Halloweens. And he is very dude-like. And me and him used to watch this movie all the time. This is funny, again, highly quotable, and it's just a way of life. The Big Lebowski coming in at number 17. Number 16, where are we at here? 1995. I'm not huge on period pieces. I just showed off what it was. Of course, this is not completely true. It's not true to what happened. There are discrepancies in the history of this movie, but it's just a damn good movie. And that is Braveheart, directed by Mel Gibson. And what can you say about this movie? It's brutal. It's funny in some parts. It's very heartfelt. You know, the story of William Wallace, that's loosely based on him. The battles are great. And you cannot go wrong with Braveheart. So coming in, number 16. Number 15, 1998 again. This was probably, I don't think I'd seen Kids yet. Kids is not on my list. And surprisingly, there's a lot of good stuff that I really love that is not on my list. When I started this, I think I had 58 titles written down. And I had to break it down to these 25. But this is probably the first gritty, hardcore movie that I seen that made me really open my eyes to how other parts of the United States works. But coming in at number 15, 1998, Tony Kaye directed American History X. Edward Norton kills it. Edward Furlong kills it. This is just a great, great movie. You learn a lot in this movie. The change of heart he has and how his brother does not. The ending is fantastic. It's a hard movie to kind of watch, but you learn a lot. It's gritty, it's real, and it is one of my favorite movies. That's why it's number 15, American History X. Number 14. I mean, what can I say about this movie? Let's see. 1990, Martin Scorsese. Should it be higher on my list? Probably, but you can't go wrong with it, though. We are talking about The Goodfellas. Great cast, great story. I would argue that Casino may be a little bit better of a movie, but this is a classic, Goodfellas. And that's why it comes in at number 14. We're just chugging right along, aren't we? Number 13, 1999. We're almost at the turn of the century. Directed by the Wachowski sisters, or brothers, however you want to look at it. This movie, I went and seen it opening weekend. It revolutionized action movies, and it developed a whole new thing. Bullet time, just the whole thing. And of course, you know what I'm talking about. We are talking about the one and only Matrix. Movie defining changes, great story, great action, and just an all-around cool sci-fi action movie. Can't go wrong with The Matrix. And that's number 13. Number 12. Easily one of my top 5 favorite directors of all time. This was the second movie I ever watched of his, even though it is his first movie, technically. Even though he had screenwrote a couple of movies. But we're talking about Quentin Tarantino, and we're talking about 1992 for number 12. We're going to go with Reservoir Dogs, and yes, it is the cool slip. Love this movie. When I watched this movie, I really learned how much Tarantino was a master at writing dialogue. And the story is great. Of course, it is modeled after an Asian movie, but we're not going to get to that right now. Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino. We're going to go number 12 right here. Number 11. This was the American introduction for me of a director that I already liked that did Asian movies. And we are talking about 1997's John Woo, Face Off, the classic John Travolta, Nick Cage movie. It's action-packed. It's a weird take of a movie. Face Off. Every time I ever see a peach or hear a peach, I always go, peach. I know people think I'm weird. But John Woo, one of my favorite Asian directors. You know, he was brought over to America. He did one of the Mission Impossibles. He did this movie. He did Broken Arrow, a few other movies. By far, I think Face Off was one of his best. And again, comes in at number 11, Face Off. I really need to pick up the steelbook of that. But as soon as I do, they'll come out with the 4K finally. All right, folks. Breaking into the top 10. This is a 1995 movie. Is that what I have written down? I'm looking at my clip. I've got my whiteboard right below here. It's got all the dates on there. 1995. Number 10, Michael Mann. How can you not go wrong with Heat? Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Tom Sizemore, the classic. Oh, Val Kilmer. How can I forget Val Kilmer? Cops and Robbers movie. One of the best shootouts ever recorded on a movie. One of. May not be the best, but it is definitely one of the best shootouts. Even though this is like a 2.5 hour long movie, it goes by really good. The dialogue in here is great. You get some classic coked up Al Pacino lines, even though they cut that coked up stuff out. The diner scene is great. Just all around a great heist movie. If you've never seen Heat, what are you waiting for? Number 9, 1991, James Cameron. How can you not have this in the top 10? Terminator 2, Judgment Day. What can you say? Now, I did not like the original Terminator. And the reason was it used to play all the time on TBS, maybe, when I was younger. And it kind of scared me as a kid, a younger kid. And I just didn't care for it. But when Terminator 2 came out, I immediately saw it and then went back and watched Terminator and realized Terminator's a really good movie. Terminator 2, you know, you get the badass Sarah Connor, you get the little bit grown up John, you get the T-1000 and the T-800 going at it, and it is just a great action movie. Some of the best special effects at the time, some of the best shootouts, especially when he has the minigun and he's just shooting everything, and just a great all-around movie. Good movie. So coming in at number 9, Terminator 2. Number 8. I don't think a lot of people like this movie per se just because of what it represents. The book's better, blah, blah, blah. But Fincher is one of my favorite directors, and this is 1999's Fight Club, Edward Norton, Brad Pitt. Just a fantastic movie. His name is Robert Paulson. Remember that. I love this movie. I don't really know what much more to say about it, but if you haven't seen Fight Club, watch it at least once. It's just a very neurotic take on mental illness, in a sense, and anarchy, and it is great. Love it. So that is coming at number 8. Number 7 is another Fincher movie, and just so happens to be 7. This was my introduction to Fincher. Came out in 1997. It is number 7, the movie 7 from David Fincher. But this was my introduction to David Fincher, and this movie blew me away. It is a sociopath movie, a horror movie, a thriller. It's got a little bit of comedy kind of thrown in there with some of the quips, but you cannot go wrong with this movie. I really love it. Everybody else should. But in my top 10, coming at number 7. Number 6 is a 1998 movie. Again, the year I graduated. A Stephen Norrington movie. This movie revolutionized comic book movies, and you could actually say that it saved comic book movies. Wesley Snipes is in this, and it's none other than Blade. This movie kicks ass. I remember going to see it in the theater when it first opened up. The opening scene with the rave, the loud music going, the blood shower, and all of a sudden you got this badass vampire killer that shows up and just starts whooping ass. This movie is fantastic. A lot of fond memories with this. I like all 3, honestly. 2 maybe the little bit better movie, but nothing can beat the original. Again, single-handedly saved comic book movies, I believe. Kind of saved Wesley Snipes' career, even though by the third one he kind of fell off. But again, coming in at number 6, 1998's Blade. Breaking the top 5. 1994. This is by far my favorite Tarantino movie. It is my number one anytime I talk about Tarantino. This movie is just great from front to back to front, middle to front to end to middle to front, whichever way you want to do it, because the story's all mixed up. But I am talking about none other than Pulp Fiction. You know, you got Jules and Verne. Is it Verne? Not Verne. I done forgot what their names are. It's been a while since I've seen Pulp Fiction. And now I'm sitting here saying it's like my number 5. And I only know the names of the 2 characters. Who is it? Jules. And I forget what Tarantino's name, or not Tarantino, Travolta's name is. Either way, great movie. You know, you've got basically 3 different stories wound into this one story. You got Marcellus Wallace looking for his briefcase. You got Bruce Willis trying to throw a fight. You know, the 2 hitmen trying to find Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. Things get a little weird. You got a gimp in here. Marcellus Wallace does not look like a bitch. So number 5, Pulp Fiction. My favorite Tarantino movie. Number 4, 1992. Now, if anybody knows me, anybody watches my channel, I love Asian cinema. What really got me into martial arts movies was The Karate Kid. But what got me into Asian movies was a bootleg VHS tape my buddy got for me. And it is of this movie, again, 1992, John Woo. And that is Hard Boiled with Chow Yun-fat. This, to me, has one of the best shootouts in it. It is a continuous, one-take shootout in a hospital where they go floor to floor just killing everybody. This is what brought me into Asian cinema, and it is what's kept me in Asian cinema. It's one of my favorite John Woo movies, one of my favorite Chow Yun-fat movies, and that is why it's number 4. This holds a dear place in my heart, because like I said, without this, I don't get into Asian cinema. Number 3, 1999. This is my favorite Martin Scorsese movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is my number 3 90s movie. And it is no other than Bringing Out the Dead. Nicolas Cage, Patricia Arquette, Ving Rhames, Tom Sizemore. Who else is in here? John Goodman. Burned out paramedics working night shift in New York in the 90s. Dealing with demons, dealing with fatigue, dealing with burnout, dealing with past runs, dealing with a drug epidemic that's going on. The reason this means so much to me is because I worked in the medical field for 15 years. I worked the ambulance. I worked late nights. I worked early mornings. I worked the 3rd shift. I've seen a lot of stuff in my time, and this movie really, really hits home with me. I can relate to it really, really good. But anybody that deals with mental problems or struggling to cope and all that should watch this movie, because you can probably connect to it. It means a lot. My number 3, Bringing Out the Dead. Number 2, 1994. This is probably easily one of my favorite action movies of all time. Again, 1994, Luc Besson, Leon the Professional. Just a great movie about a lonely, simple man who's a cleaner that gets involved with a girl because her family got involved with the wrong guy. And subsequently, they got murdered. And you see Leon take Matilda under his wing, teach her to become a cleaner, and he cleans house. The ending is satisfying. It would have been nice if Leon survived. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie. But my number 2, one of my favorite action movies, my second favorite movie of the 90s, Leon the Professional. And if you know me, if you know anything about me, if you've watched any of my videos talking about live streams, anything like that. I've talked about this movie before. 1994. This movie won. The main guy in this movie died during the filming, so that should give it away what it is right there. But I was 15 years old. I was just starting to get to go out with friends by ourselves. Mom would drop us off at the movie theater or the arcade. We grab something to eat, play the arcade, we go see a movie. And this was the first movie I got to see doing that. And I went on a Friday night. I went on a Saturday night. Next weekend, I went on a Friday and a Saturday. The next weekend, a Friday and Saturday. I went and seen this movie 6 times in the first opening weeks of this movie. It is my favorite movie. It has my favorite soundtrack from a movie. And it desperately needs a 4K, but we are talking about Brandon Lee in The Crow, and I would put money on saying that this is probably one of these best movies of all time. I got the poster right there. But what can I say? Any more than that, The Crow, just a lot of memories for me. A time in my life when I was becoming an adult. I was shaping my views of movies, what I liked, what I disliked, and this came along at the perfect time. So my number one 1990s movie is The Crow. So that's going to do it. That is my list from 25 to 1. It is my list. You may think that things should be on my list that are not on my list. I'm sorry. This is my list. If you want to make a list, again, down below, send them to Tim. Get this done. Then on April 8th, we're having that live stream. So you need to tune in, see what the community list compiled. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm Ryan, Movies with Ryan. I'll see you again. Have a fantastic night.